Scalpel. Thank you. Hope I get this right. I haven't slept in days. Oh no! Oh no!
I heard you can throw the football really well, Commish.
I can throw the football just as well as I like my rubs. Watch this. What? Objection, Your Honor. He's badgering the witness.
Sustained.
All right, so just finish off this next line of billion lines of code, and I'll have those guys betting all their money. There's no way they're gonna win at fantasy anymore, all this, betting. Anyways, I'm gonna call my bro. I gotta see what's happening. Hello? Hey bro, what's poppin'? Dak still making you wet dream? Baby, it's all good, bro. Oh, I got mustard on my favorite shirt. You know what, bro? I don't even know who to set up all this week in my lineup. Well, if you go this linebacker from Washington, they're paying a run-first offense, so that linebacker is guaranteed to get a bunch of volume, and that's how you will win this one. You're the best, man. How the hell do you know all this? You see any women around, bro? Good point, my brother. Good point. You know what? Thanks for all you did for this. There's no way I could ever win without you. I know this. Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kmish back here with another draft preview, and we got another new owner here taking the Grace, our last Grace owner of the year, and it is Vlad and Klenje, who really rounds out that international division. Lots of family in this league, right? So obviously there's the rivalry with Sueño and Finn, and then you got yourself against your brother Sabatica. So really interesting division to watch, and I think it's a tough division for you to get into the LOC with. But the reality is, every owner up here now should be fairly high quality, you would think. Anyways, I am going to share my screen with you, and we'll just get right into your preview. So there it is, Klenje and LOC draft preview. Let's get into it. So first off, looking at your keepers, the reality is, when I look at this team, there really wasn't a lot to choose from, right? So I honestly think the only other keepers that you could potentially consider on this roster would be Dak over Drake May, which, Dak might have a better fantasy year this year, to be honest, but obviously Drake May is young, and he's on a legacy team just like Dallas, so there obviously is an opportunity there for you to have a long-term keeper at quarterback with Drake, and I think it's the right move because those legacy teams usually bounce back pretty quickly. And then I would say the only other keeper I would suggest you could look at is you got Brandon Ayuk there, Ayuk, whatever you call him. It's my understanding he's still hurt, right? So it could take half a year for him to get right. And you have Jordan Mason there. As much as I don't want to give you the tips, Jordan Mason could see a fair amount of time splitting carries with Aaron Jones this year. And with running back being a premium, that might be the one suggestion I would make on the roster. I'm sure everyone probably hates the fact that I'm telling Klenje this. But you might keep Ayuk, right? This guy might rebound quite quickly, comes back to form. Is WR1 there? I just don't see it though. I like Chase Brown because he's Canadian and he's playing for Cincinnati. Mixed reviews on Chase Brown, according to most fantasy websites I go to. But from my perspective, I think he had a great year last year. And I think he's going to build on it because I don't think Zach Moss is any sort of competition whatsoever. And in fact, I think it'll probably be P. Ryan that's going to be the backup there. And then you got Jackson Smith and Jibba. This guy is on the path to getting a lot of targets, right, for Seattle. He's got Sam Darnold throwing the ball. Seattle going through a bit of a transition, but let's not forget this guy was the highest wide receiver prospect coming out a couple of years ago. Of course, it might have been a weak draft, but that is the reality. So you'd think, he's got a bright future. And then really the icing on the cake, and this is where I think out of all the Grays teams and new owners, I should throw new owners in there because we did have some new owners that paid the fees this year. I honestly think you landed in the best scenario, and we'll get into it with your draft picks. But you also like a guy like Brock Bowers. He literally could be the next Travis Kelce for the next decade, right? So, and that's honestly what I see for him, right? He was the highest touted prospect in the draft last year, and people stayed away from him because he was tight end. And I'm sure some people are regretting it now. And then at linebacker, you got Quay Walker as your keeper. Looking at the other guys you have available on defense, definitely feel that this is the right pick for you to go with. And I think these are really the only good players on the team, except for obviously the ones I outlined with Mason and Dak as being other potentials. The good news for you, and this is why I think you landed in the most ideal situation, you gave yourself a full complement of picks. So, of course, everybody has 29 picks, right? But it's all about where you're picking. And for yourself, you have a pick in every round. The prior owner announced their retirement, I think, fairly quickly in the year, and then really didn't do much of anything. And it worked out for you in the simple fact that now you have a full complement of picks. You're going to pick ninth, which says that this prior owner finished 17th last year. So not dead last. We know who finished dead last. It was myself. And then you can see, obviously, from there, you're picking, well, what is it? It looks like 23 picks later, and then 17 after, then 23, then 17 after. So that's how it's going to work for you. Definitely seems like a long time in between picks, but it's a deep league. And you really got to get your picks right early on. That's what I've learned in this league. And you have to have solid keepers. And a prior owner by the name of True North, I think, incorporated that strategy and was able to win a few championships because of it. And yeah, sometimes it is all about just having the best keeper quality. There you see around 11 to 20, same thing. You got the full complement, the picks, the standard picks, and then going right into round 21 to 29. The good news for you, I feel, is this gives you a clean slate. And not only that, you're going to have to pay next year. So you might have to look at the fact that, maybe you don't want to succeed this year, right? Maybe it's about selling Ayuk at the deadline if he starts turning it up and getting another pick for next year when it's time for you to obviously go all in and not be able to take the grace. So something to consider there for you, Vlad. When I look at the projections here for you, I think the likely first pick has to be a running back, but I added the word but. And the reason why I added the word but is because when you look at the sleeper rankings and around where you're picking in ninth, well, Caleb Johnson might be available, maybe not. But it looks like really it would be wide receivers that are available, right? So I think Tet McMillan could very well still be available. DJ Moore, who is a proven veteran, is available, and Calvin Ridley is available. So again, if you go with a guy like more Ridley, it could give you the option to trade Ayuk or someone at the deadline and try to load up on picks for next year. You have to survive first, of course. And that's something that obviously I experienced last year, trading too early. And so, it's always good to kind of just make sure 100% that it looks like you're going to stick around. But you might have to go best available because of that. And when you look at this preview, you might want to then now consider to keep Jordan Mason. Honestly, I was considering picking him at 6, I believe I'm picking. So, again, it's your team. You have to decide what you're going to do. Ayuk got the big money, but let's face it, he hasn't really proven to be, I guess you could say, the wide receiver for that type of money. And the storylines for you this year, Vlad, first off, I'm going to say I think you're a great owner. I think you were one of those owners in tier two that just kind of was always close every year. And I almost felt bad for you because I was like, I want this guy to move up to tier one. He's definitely tier one quality. The storyline is you got to survive in a grace year, and I think you won't have any issue doing that, to be honest. Especially when you look at the other two teams that took grace this year are in a much worse spot than you. I honestly feel like you could have paid fees this year. It's too late now. You're on the full grace now, but I do feel like you could have paid this year and maybe have finished near the top like you did in tier two, which you might end up regretting in the end. Again, storyline, I do think you picked the best team that was available to the new owners. By best team, I mean best scenario, right? I know Banjo had some really good keepers there because he took over the champions team. So, obviously he has a good team, but the scenario is not nearly as good. And of course, I already kind of did touch on it a little bit, but your introduction to the league puts you in a tough division. The international division used to get criticized, but by the previous co in this league. But if you look at the win-loss records of these teams, they've always been consistent. Every single owner, pretty much in that division, has proven themselves to some degree somewhere in this LOC format. And every single team in the international division, I believe, started at tier three or tier two, excuse me, at one point in their career. So you were in the same boat, and you brought me a new owner for tier three this year, which I'm grateful for. And I just want to say that, yeah, I do think you can compete in this division long term. And I do think that you could have competed in the short term, to be perfectly honest with you. And again, we've seen people take the grace year before. Luke, and Too Good for a Name, who's in that division, was one of them. And he finished third the year he took grace, right? And I honestly think that might have been his best finish ever, which is the odd part about it. So, anyways, it's too late now. And I hope that obviously you're not getting any regrets watching this preview. But I just want to say, Vlad, thanks for everything. Thanks for always having my back. And I just have a lot of respect for you, your brother, and everybody else in that division. Have a good year.